All right, young voters. This is a Gallup poll that shows young adults have their lowest support for the Democratic Party since 2005. The headline from the Gallup poll here is Net Democratic Leaned Party ID by Age. So what it shows, interestingly, is that the most Democratic, they have it broken down by age, 18 to 29, 30 to 49, 50 to 64, and 65 plus. So the most Democratic age group when it comes to leaning Democrat is 18 to 29, which you would expect, right? However, it's only by an 8-point margin, and it's the lowest since 2005. It peaked in 2008 with Barack Obama when that age group was like plus 25 in favor of the Democratic Party. In 2018, during the Trump years, it was about D plus 22, and it has done nothing but fall off a cliff to now being D plus 8 for 18 to 29-year-olds per this Gallup poll. And this poll goes back to the late 90s.
Gee, what's for them to not relate to with 80-plus-year-old candidates, right?
No, seriously.
I think this is to your point that you make.
Yeah, get some younger blood in there across the board. Mm-hmm. Now, here's what's really interesting. The second most Democratic-leaning age group, I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase this. So the second age group that is the most Democratic of those four age groups I gave you, 18 to 29, 30 to 49, 50 to 64, and then 65 plus, is the 65 plus group.
Hippies.
Yeah. It's like the burnouts and the hippies are back. The boomers.
Well, that's what I find amazing, guys my age and older that are just act like teenage girls. They call on the phone. I know them by name.
It's still
Some
1968.
I'm friends with on Facebook, and they don't know that I do this.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's great.
It's all, man, Vietnam.
Yeah. Now we're getting John off on his high horse. I love it.
Man.
So that age group, the 65-plus age group, leans more Democratic. Now, it's still on a -1 basis. Like, it's a net -1 for the Democratic Party. But they have actually gotten more Democratic-leaning over the last 2 to 3 years, which is fascinating. The 65-plus. Then, right below them are 30 to 49-year-olds. So 65-plus leans more Democratic than 30 to 49-year-olds, which is a lot of millennials like myself and then a portion of Gen X. They're net -2 in favor of the Democratic Party. So they lean Republican just barely right of center. And then this is the most conservative age range, 50 to 64. They are -10 in favor of net Democratic lean. So how about that? The age ranges that are most conservative right now are 30 to 64, whereas those who are more liberal are 18 to 29 and 65 plus. Isn't that fascinating?
Might draw a correlation with income there. What about you?
Yeah.
The people who are in their peak earning years are conservative, those that haven't started to make any money, and those the rest of my age that are losing it.
Yeah.
They're going on the dole here. Right?
Well,
those people are all for it.
I think you're onto something there. Listen, young people have always traditionally leaned left. They have this utopian view of the world. If the government just did a little more, we'd all be living high on the hog. And then they start making money and living life and having kids and raising families, and they're like, oh, that was a bunch of BS. Mm-hmm. And then the 65 plus, here's what I think the 65 plus thing is about. I think it's, yes, part of what you note, John, that, people start collecting Social Security and maybe that makes them more government dependent in some ways. But I also think the 65 plus, well, yes, they were impacted by COVID in the sense that they had the most to lose, like literally their lives during COVID, because we knew that the older you were, the more likely you were to struggle with COVID. They also are the ones who, if they have their money and they've made their money they have not really been impacted by this economy. They're not trying to raise a family when grocery prices are up 20%. They've probably lived in their home that they've owned and paid off for years. A lot of the interest rates aren't necessarily impacting them if they've got some dough. So it's one of two ways. Either they're more reliant on the government, so they think they need to lean a certain way, or they've got enough dough sitting aside, and God bless them if they've had. They lived the American dream, but they have not been impacted by the way inflation has hit this economy and hit regular folks over the last 2-3 years.
Fair point, right? You said on that Southwestern Bell stock from when you started working back in the 60s.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Set on that. That's a good deal for you. But, yeah, and I know a lot of the people who didn't do that, who are my age and older, so they're on the other side, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
And but here's the thing. I don't think if you're someone who's like relying on Social Security, I mean, God bless you, you paid into the system. You should feel like you're getting yours and you deserve that money. I'm not suggesting otherwise.
No, right.
But the notion that you need to view the world through a blue lens because you're collecting a government paycheck, well, that's not really fair because it's really your money you're getting back. I don't know why you would change your viewpoint on the world because of that.
My words. I don't know which comes first, the hippie or the government program, right? So I think a bulk of them on the government program probably were busy out at the park back in the 60s.
Yeah. That is great. Pete, the largest age group in the U.S. are people 35 to 39. That would be the older millennials right now. That would be my age bracket and Mark's age bracket. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'll take you for your word there on the text line 5282. So why are two 80-year-olds the only choices for president? Listen, you're preaching to the choir here. All right, we got two guys that are going to be a combined 160. And I know some of you are going to scream that age is just a number. It is. There's no doubt that Trump's mental acuity, I mean, the guy can run circles around Joe Biden. Regardless of which one you like, it's not even close when it comes to mental acuity. But it's still, for those of us that aren't of that ilk, it still stinks that we're going to have two choices between two people that combined 160 years old. It just is, even though I know which one I'm going for.
For those people screaming about oligarchs.
Yeah.
We certainly are feeding into that kind of system, aren't we?
And I circle back to Bill O'Reilly this morning. Who did he rail against? Mm-hmm. Mitch McConnell, 82 years old. I mean, all of our leaders are one trip and fall away from one needing jungle law.
One hot summer.
And, two from literally kicking it. And I don't say that with joy, but it's like there are most people in their 80s who, if you were managing a Walmart and looking for greeters, you'd say they're too old. But they run our country. How screwed up is that?